I will surely find another to pull wild mountain thyme from around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? And we'll all go together to pull wild mountain thyme from around the purple heather. Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go? Will you go, lassie, go?
Let's do a verse of good news. Get people going.
Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a long white robe in heaven, I know.
A long white robe in heaven, I know.
There's a long white robe in heaven, I know, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. There's a golden harp in heaven, I know.
A golden harp in heaven, I know.
There's a golden harp in heaven, I know, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming. Good news, chariots are coming, and I don't want it to leave me behind.
All right, thank you and good morning. Would you all please stand for our opening song? We're going to do Stand today as an opening song. For years I would talk about how I wanted to change the world, but I always left it for someone else to do. Then I finally realized I needed to take a stand, and that by changing my thinking I could change my life. That's how I could change the world. Let there be peace, I am a stand for peace. Let there be love, I am a stand for love. Let there be joy, I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Clap it. Let there be peace, I am a stand for peace. Let there be love, I am a stand for love. Let there be joy, I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace, I am a stand for peace. Let there be love, I am a stand for love. Let there be joy, I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Let there be peace, I am a stand for peace. Let there be love, I am a stand for love. Let there be joy, I am a stand for joy. We are making a new world now. Are we? We are
Laura Berryhill and Anton Mizerak, and our Unity CSL choir, all of you all. Good morning, everybody. So great to see you. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, the senior minister here. It's always my pleasure to greet you on Sunday morning to Unity and CSL Rogue Valley in partnership. We together are inclusive, progressive spiritual community, and we honor you. I always like to say this, we honor each of you, no matter where you may happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey, because there's one God, but a lot of paths, huh? If you haven't already, please turn off your cell phone or put it in airplane mode for us. Is there anybody here? I know there is, actually. If you're here for the first time, if you would please raise your hand, we'd just like to give you a little love. Yay. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Cast of characters this morning. Karen Jordan, this is Karen's first time on the podium as a practitioner member of our community, so welcome to Karen. Yeah. Practitioner Nancy Clay did a beautiful meditation this morning, and she's holding high watch, which means she's praying throughout the service for the highest and best for each person here and each person watching us online. By the way, welcome to all those watching us live or on the recording. And of course, you've met our musicians, Anton Mizerak and Laura Berryhill. We're very blessed to have them. So it's the time in our service where I invite all of us to take a collective deep breath as I turn it over to our musicians to center us for our invocation and reading. And if you would, please hold your applause at the end of this song so that we can go right into prayer from that quiet place. Thank you.
There's only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There's only one of us. In your eyes it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one.
Good morning. I'm Karen. You are all part of me as I am part of you. As I connect with the wholeness, the original perfection that God is, I know the strength, the congruity, the integrity that God is in everything. everywhere and in everyone. When I am integral, I am filled full of God. Undiminished in adherence to the science of mind beliefs, to the beliefs that I've carried from my childhood. I am using the pronoun I so you can take it in to I am within you. Let your life reflect in all that you say and do that integrity, that connection with the God within, without, around, through, all that is. In agreement with the principles of science of mind, I know God is all there is. There is the law of cause and effect. And love is all there is in that divine love that passes all understanding. That divine love that always says yes, yes, to the beauty of who we are as we live in and speak from our authenticity, from our truth, our integrity. I know I am a work in progress that reflects the answers to my questions, such as, am I coming from God within? How am I being in service? Am I listening and speaking from my heart, from my truth, from my authentic self? As I set the intention into the law to live my life in integrity with the principles of God as my greatest prayer, I know I am in alignment with God, where everything is provided for all the good of all. I truly believe and trust God. I have dedicated my will and my life over to God. I find God within, and I expand out from that place of within. I do so in a devoted, valid way as my path to God. I do not look outside myself at what others may say and do. I can gladly wait to ask what God will be and do with this time, job, request. I love, and I trust all will be seen. That indeed, as I stand in my own light, I say thank you. Thank you, God, for the beauty within me, for the beauty I reflect from all I meet and greet from that loving place. I live in my own authenticity. This shall be, as I scrutinize what is happening, this I shall build, no other, just this connection. In great gratitude, I say, yes, God, yes, yes, to you, to me, to us, and to the world beyond. And so this day, we join in looking into the mirror of our souls as we say, yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is.
We're going to offer you a new song today. This is its debut. Started 12 and a half years ago and finished this week. It fit Reverend Kimberly's theme for the day so perfectly that it had to be finished.
Don't you know, in the mystery of time, magic fills the world around us. It's here for us to find. The stories of our lives are happening between us here. The searching and the longing for intimate truth revealed so clear, revealed so clear. In this life, in all that we are, we give of our imaginations, our beauties and our scars. The stories of our lives are happening between us here. The searching and the longing for intimate truth revealed so clear, revealed so clear. How deeply we live if we dare to dream the magic into being, our hearts open to share. Look at me, look into my heart, see the mirror of
Anton and Laura, thank you, thank you. You know, one of my favorite passages from the New Testament comes from Matthew 7, where Jesus is warning his disciples about judging others. He says something like, you know, the form you judge others with is what's going to come back to you. The measure you use against others is the measure that will be used for you. And he asks them a question. He says, why is it that you notice the speck in your brother's eye, but you don't see the log in your own eye? He says, hypocrites, remove the log from your own eye first, and then you'll be able to see to help your brother remove the speck from his eye. You know, we laugh. We say in Unity and Science of Mind that we teach ancient wisdom, new thought. I guess human nature hasn't changed a whole lot in 2,000 years. Because his admonition to them could be our admonition to ourselves today. I mean, how many of us, I know I'm guilty, how many of us judge, criticize, point the finger, right, at others? And we have these sweet little sayings, you know what they are. When we point the finger at somebody else, there are 3 fingers pointing back at me. And those are the ones we need to pay attention to. The other cute little one we use in New Thought teachings is, if you spot it, you got it. And that's the truth, right? So why? Why do we do that? Well, it is the ego. It is that part of us that's scared. Nancy did a beautiful meditation, a reading from the Science of Mind magazine about competing versus collaborating. And the ego doesn't want us to collaborate. The ego wants us, you know, to compete and try to be better than and prove that we're okay. And that's where some of our judgments, they are projections. If you spot it, you got it. You know, if we're judging someone else, we ask ourselves the question, if we're smart, where does that quality, where does that habit, where does that thing that I am condemning, where does it live in me? It's a very powerful question to ask. And the thing is about this, when we project what's inside towards others, the more emotion we have behind it, the more, you know, self-righteous we feel, or angry we feel, or judgmental we feel, the more it lives here, right? Because otherwise, we wouldn't get hot and bothered. We'd see somebody doing something and we'd go, oh, that's interesting. So what, right? Our founder, Ernest Holmes, our founder of Science of Mind, points to this a little bit. He says, you and I could not criticize unless the criticism was in us. He's talking about repression and projection. You will see nothing in anybody else unless you have it in you to see. You are what you say, and what you say is what you must become. You cannot see a thing in me but what you see in yourself first. Well, unconsciously we know it's in ourselves, but we don't always want to look at it. Shadow work. It's really, Jesus was inciting or inviting his disciples to do their own shadow work. So, you know, we repress things. We repress parts of ourselves, sometimes because we were taught when we were young by teachers or parents or well-meaning or not so well-meaning people that parts of us were not acceptable. So we repress them, we don't want to look at them, and we get mad when someone else exhibits them, right? Yeah. Carl Jung said some interesting things about Western theosophy, Western theology and philosophy. He said that we tend to want to look at the light and honor the light, and sure, that's great, right? But he says it at the expense of looking at the dark. He said this, he said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. I think we need to do both. So the title of my talk this morning is Moving from Lens to Mirror. It's the name of one of the chapters in our book of the month this month, which is The 4 Pivots by an author named Sean Ginwright. Now, a pivot, he defines as a movement from the place where we are to a different direction. And of course, in basketball, right, we know that somebody can be coming down the court, a player, and he's obstructed or she's obstructed in the movement toward the goal, and they have to stop. So Sean Jenwright says there are 4 elements to a pivot. 1, you have to stop momentarily, pause. 2, you have to become aware of the players around you. 3, you have to stay focused on the goal, which in this case is to get the ball down the court. And 4, you consciously and confidently move in a different direction. Those are pretty good steps for what we are called to do when we're getting into our little I'm better than you mode, or, you know, what are you doing? I'm judging somebody else. I think we all have a tendency to analyze before we self-reflect, don't we? I mean, it is just kind of human nature. It's easier to point the finger than to do the difficult work of exploring our inner territory. I have a little story to share with you, and it may sound like a trivial one, but and you know, when a minister prepares a talk, we all get called to live it that week, and sometimes it's not real fun. What I'm finding is the more we practice this pivot, and by the way, we'll talk about the rest of the pivots for the rest of the month, but this first pivot is a pivot in awareness. And I think when we start to practice that, like anything, we get better at it. So here is my experience this week. I was walking into a big box store. I can't even remember what I was wanting to buy. And I wasn't terribly conscious. I walked across the parking lot and walked in the first door that was available, which happened to be the exit. You know how these stores, you know, they have the automatic doors. And sometimes, in my defense, but I should drop the defense, and sometimes the entrance is on the left and the exit's on the right, which never made sense. Anyway, in this case it wasn't. It just so happened the closest door was the exit, and I'm charging in. And as I'm coming in, there's a younger couple coming out. She is carrying a large plant, a potted plant, and trying to steady it, and I kind of slip by them. And as I do, she says in a not very pleased tone, "You know, this is the exit." I was kind of shocked. Like, how dare she? I would never say that to somebody. So I got on my little high horse in my own head thinking, gosh, you know, how rude. And then I started, you know what we do? I started, you know, when something happens like that, you wish later you had something snarky and clever to say. Honestly, so I started thinking what I could have said, and then I went, Kimberly. You did walk in the exit. And I walked in as if, you know, I had a right to it, and, you know, and not really aware of other people. And then the more I reflected, there's that pause, right? The pause for a second. I realized she may have been startled and, you know, worrying about carrying this big heavy thing out and not spilling it. And here I come charging in, mindlessly brushing by her. And I thought, whoops. I don't blame her for saying what she said and the tone of voice in which she said it. And my thought then was, I wish I had had the presence of mind to simply say, oops, sorry. Sorry, that's all. And you know, when I did that, when you're in the snarky thing and you're pissed off, you know, it's not very peaceful, right? It is not very peaceful. So if we're keeping our eye on the goal, and the goal is to live a centered, peaceful, loving, you know, harmonious life, it's a good thing to stop, to pay attention to the things around you, right? To be aware. What's the third step? I forgot now. To remember the goal, which is to get along with people, to love people, to be in harmony, to be in peace, and then to pivot in a new direction. So that's my little share. Now, the subtitle of this book of the month, The 4 Pivots, is Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves. So Jenwright is a professor of Black Studies, brilliant guy, good writer. And what he's saying with these 4 pivots is that they can change not only our personal lives and help us have harmonious relationships with ourselves and others, but they have a broader context too, that they can really help us create a just world for all, which of course is one of our missions, one of our visions in the Centers for Spiritual Living and in Unity. So, yeah, this mirror, he says, looking in the mirror. Well, I didn't talk about the lens too much. The lens is what we look through to analyze and notice details in the world around us. But moving from that perspective to the mirror, which is reflecting inward, it's the window inside, it's doing self-reflection. And Jen Wright says that even a social activist who wants to change things needs to do that self-reflective work to heal. Because if we're walking around with our buttons and we're getting PO'd when somebody says something snarky to us, we've got work to do here. We have to start in ourselves. Only through mirror work, self-reflection, can we learn then to spot the logs in our own eye and not be so obsessed with the specks in someone else. The obstructions, really, to our seeing clearly, right? Yeah. So whether we're running into obstacles and confusion in our personal lives, in our relationships, in our professional life, Sean Jenwright recommends that we do the 4 steps, that we slow down, take a breath, stop pushing forward for the moment, like the basketball player who must at least briefly pause before proceeding to the goal. So how do we do this? You know, a lot of ways. We certainly advocate spiritual practices, taking a walk, meditating, doing yoga, practices that clear our mind. I know a couple people in the audience today were at Karen Parnell's sound healing, Tibetan bowl sound healing. And this week they had a Tibetan flute, and oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. She's done some meditations here, and she's now doing them at the Healing Center in Medford. And it just, I left there just feeling so tuned and peaceful and wonderful, slept well. And these are all wonderful, but there's a caveat here. Shadow work is not something we come willingly. We kind of come kicking and screaming to shadow work, right? We really do. It's not necessarily easy. And if we can just remember that everybody has a shadow and it's okay, and it is amazingly healing if we're willing to take a look. But what I'm recommending, if you come across your own shadow, is that you talk to a trusted conscious friend, or you see a practitioner or a minister who has done their own shadow work, or you see a therapist. Because the rewards are great. Removing those logs, allowing us to see our brothers and sisters as one with us, not the other, which the ego wants us to believe. They're not like me. Look at them. I'm better. And then there's the whole thing, you know, about, I talked a couple weeks ago about, the talk title was Grandeur or Grandiosity, which will you choose? So we tend to the ego vacillates between the two, tending to puff ourselves up, competing, proving that we're better than somebody, or in comparison, we find ourselves lacking. So these mirrors, you know, the fun houses that have, usually a mirror reflects truth, right? A good mirror reflects things just as they are. But then you think about the funhouse mirrors. Good thing they're not reality. But I think sometimes when we look in the mirror, we're using kind of a funhouse mirror. We're having a distorted image of not only our body image, but about us. And that's what the ego does. When we talked a couple weeks ago, it either puffs us up, or it says, oh my gosh, I'm terrible. I'm a worm of the dust. I'm not nearly as good as someone else. So it's a trap. We have to be careful to balance it, to be willing to take a look at the shadow in an honest, authentic way, but also to remember that I am a child of God. Each of us is a child of God. So the grandeur of God is the truth of our soul. It is not the truth of our little ego who has visions of grandiosity, right? Yeah, all right. So Jen Wright proposes some questions for us to ask as we look into the mirror, and I'm going to read them to you. Ask, what is unclear in this situation to me? What am I not seeing? In this case, I wasn't seeing that this poor woman was trying to exit like she was supposed to with this big plant without spilling it, right? What is most important right now in this moment? That's a good one. What is most important? My snarky response, or my realizing that, you know, I wasn't being terribly considerate in my actions? Is my ego making this unclear? Yep. What do I fear most in this situation and why? That's a biggie because the ego's motivation is always fear. Our soul, our God self, our higher self comes from a place of love and knowing our oneness, but our ego doesn't, and it fights, right? And then the last question, if you have one, what would my mentor do in this situation? Or perhaps it's someone that you admire, a spiritual teacher. So as we look in the mirror, I found this poem. I love John O'Donohue. Anybody else love John O'Donohue? He wrote this poem that he called, At the End of the Day, A Mirror of Questions. So he used the word mirror. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes for just a minute and just ponder some of these. Where did my eyes linger today? Where was I blind? Where was I hurt without anyone noticing? What did I learn today? What did I read? What new thoughts visited me? What differences did I notice in those closest to me? Whom did I neglect? Where did I neglect myself? What did I begin today that might endure? How were my conversations, both external and internal, I might add? What did I do today for the poor and the excluded? Did I remember the dead today? Where could I have exposed myself to the risk of something different? Where did I allow myself to receive love? Where did I allow myself to give love instead of judgment? What reached me today? How deep did it imprint? Who saw me today, really saw me? What visitations had I from the past and from the future? What did I avoid today? And from the evidence, why was I given this day? That's a good one, isn't it? Was I given this day to be all up in myself and judging and condemning? Was I given this day to know the oneness of all humankind, to know my true grandeur as a child of God and to see it in the eyes of others, to forgive myself and forgive others, and to be able to begin to live harmoniously internally and with others? You know, there's another concept that I came across this week I had not heard before. It's something called the golden shadow. You know, you spot it, you got it. Well, if you spot in someone else adulation and admiration and qualities that you just think are awesome, but you're putting them up on a pedestal, those qualities too live in you. If you spot it, you got it. So there's a lot of twists and turns as we learn to pivot in our awareness. It's not simple. But if we can truly remind ourselves to forgive our own mistakes and remember we are one with the divine, the Course in Miracles, the beautiful lessons, I am as God created me. And what I give to another, I give to myself. So when I go snarkily condemning or judging someone else, those fingers are pointing here. And the beautiful part of all of this, if most human conflicts stem from an unconscious projection of what our shadow, and I think that that's probably true, then as we, instead of denying the shadow, as we move from that lens to that mirror, we remove the obstacles to harmony and peace. And I think we do that not only on an individual level, but on a societal level, on a global level. Can you imagine if the whole world were willing to embrace the shadow, look at the shadow, move to mirror work? Wow, right? So let's start. Let's be the ones to be willing to heal that past trauma, to be willing to live from heart with love as our guide, to create a peaceful and just world, not only for ourselves and our family and our loved ones, but for the world. That mirror is a window to our unconscious projections instead of fearing them or hiding them. There was one more metaphor that I think Jim Lockhart used, Reverend Jim Lockhart, in an article this month in our Science of Mind magazine. He said, ignoring the shadow, ignoring our unconscious stuff that's in here, stuff, or we could call it with another S word, right? It's like paving a road and not filling the potholes. The road is not going to be smooth. We can, in Science of Mind, we have been accused, and probably Unity too, of being a little too much into, oh la la, we're perfect, whole, and complete, and we're abundant, and it's absolutely correct, as Ernest taught us, to turn away from conditions that we don't want and focus on what we want and pray for what we want. Absolutely, we can change conditions. But if we do so without taking a look at that underbelly, it ain't gonna work. Just like that road that can't be smooth if we don't fill in the potholes, remove the dent, if we can learn to do our shadow work. And I think that we've been accused of being too positive. And if you think about what Ernest taught, the quote I read early on indicated he was aware of the unconscious shadow. He always said we're open at the top, meaning we don't teach a set of hard and fast principles and they don't change. We are open at the top. And recently, more and more people are doing shadow work. And I believe if Ernest were here with us today, Charles Fillmore was here with us today, they would be saying, right on, you do this work. It's part of what we're here to do. So let's be willing to fill in the potholes. Let's be willing to shine a light to the dark corners of ourselves without judgment. Let's be willing to move from that lens of analyzing and judging to mirror, to self-reflecting. And let us find in the end that yes, we have work to do, but at our core, we are magnificent. We are children of the Most High. And all of the qualities we might assign to God, all of the qualities we might assign to someone that we revere, you spot it, you got it. Let's go into prayer. So in our prayer, we start with simply recognizing that one divine presence, that one life, that source of all that is. Karen likes to call it the creative consciousness. I love that term. Consciousness that creates. But it is a consciousness of pure love, of perfect peace, of infinite abundance. A source, a creator that wanted to create all of us so that it might know itself in a deeper way, in a more diverse way. We cannot be separate from that which created us. If God is truly all there is, and I believe it is, there's nothing more for us to be here incarnated as but spirit, but love, but peace, but clarity, but abundance, but harmony, all that God is. At our core, at the soul level, we are. And so this week and going forward, I know for each one here, each one listening online, as we are willing to have the courage to look, to shine a light in those dark spots, to turn away from the analyzing lens of what's out there and pointing fingers, to be willing to look in the mirror and own, what are those three fingers saying when I'm pointing the finger at someone else? That this work is miraculous, like filling in the potholes. It allows us to reclaim our compassion, our love, our oneness, our oneness with humanity, our oneness with our Maker. And I know that each of us is guided if we open our hearts to the right healing modalities, the right spiritual practices, perhaps the right counselor or helper to clean up what lies in shadow and to reclaim our magnificence so that we might look out of the world and see God's Spirit's, the Creator's magnificence in everything, in every person, in every situation we encounter. I am so grateful for all the teachers that we have in Unity and Science of Mind. I'm so grateful for each one here in these seats, for each one listening. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be given this day and to reflect on why. Why was I given this day? Certainly to love, to be the lights we were made to be. And so, giving thanks for all of this, I simply release this prayer. For I know, like all prayers, as we release it into the law, it is heard before it left my lips. It is already answered. And we say together, and so it is, my friends. Thank you.
We've got a song now for you, a rather upbeat song by Eddie Watkins Jr., and if you'd like to clap along on this one, you are welcome to do so.
I just want to take this minute to say, I've played hundreds of New Thought churches. We're really blessed. Thank you, Kimberly.
Always guiding the way to the right track. I'm walking
in the Spirit,
and I'm talking
to the Spirit.
I'm learning
from the Spirit,
and I'm turning
to the Spirit.
I'm growing
in the Spirit,
and it's showing
in the Spirit.
I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. When I find myself in one of those situations, when I don't know what to do, ain't got no explanation, I go within and get plugged in for a revelation. 10 times out of 9 things will work out fine without my participation. I'm walking
in the Spirit,
and I'm talking
to the Spirit.
I'm learning
from the Spirit,
and I'm turning
to the Spirit.
I'm growing
in the Spirit,
and it's showing
in the Spirit.
I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. When I find myself in one of those situations that's leading to some kind of drama or confrontation, I go within and get plugged into my friend before it's too late. I put the Spirit in front of me to make those crooked places straight. I'm walking
in the Spirit,
and I'm talking
to the Spirit.
I'm learning
from the Spirit,
and I'm turning
to the Spirit.
I'm growing
with the Spirit,
and it's showing
in the Spirit.
I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. I do a do up, I do a do up, I do a do up, I do a do 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 up, I do a do up, I do a do up, I do a do 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 up, I do a do up, I do do up, I do 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 yeah, I'm walking
in the Spirit,
I'm talking
to the Spirit.
I'm learning and I'm turning
to the Spirit.
I'm growing
in the Spirit,
and it's
showing in the Spirit.
I'm walking with the Spirit in front of me. I'm
for that message, right?
Yep.
Wow. These guys always come through. Love you. I'm going to invite our ushers, Patricia and Ellen, to come forward. Thank you so much for your sacred service. Time now to think about and actually do something about our tithes and offerings. So as we know, as we give, we receive. It's the law of circulation in our teachings. I'm going to ask you, if you would, to repeat this affirmation after me. Graciously I give, from a place of love, knowing that as I give, so do I graciously receive. So it is.
A love song from ancient India. Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari, Jai Gopi Jana Baba, Jai Girivardhari, Jai Gopi Jana Baba, Jai Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Briji Jana Ranjana, Yashoda Nandana Briji Jana Ranjana, Yashoda Nandana Briji Jana Ranjana, Yamani Tira Banachari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari, Jai Gopi Jana Baba, Jai Gopi Jana Baba, Jai Gopi Jana Baba, Jai Giridhari, Jai Radha Madhava, Jai Kunja Vihari.
Gorgeous, you two. Nice to hear so much of your voice. We don't always do that. Thank you. Thank you. Ah, yeah. Few announcements before we go. You may have noticed when you came in that Rev Stephanie and her team of volunteers is holding a 50-50 raffle. There's still time. We haven't done this in a long time. You remember when we used to do it, way back when. It's a fundraiser. You can buy, what is it, Stephanie? How many tickets?
Okay, one ticket is $2, and you can get 3 tickets for $5,
Yep.
or 12 tickets for $20.
And in the end, you have to be here to win, but in about 15 minutes after the end of the service, we'll do a drawing in Bosworth Hall, and we simply split the pot. 50% goes to the center so that we can have a fundraiser, and 50% goes to you. So isn't that fun? So if you didn't get your ticket, make sure you do in the social hall. We invite you all. By the way, we did the birthday song last week, even though it wasn't the first Sunday of the month, because it was the last Sunday of the month. What are we giggling at?
Birthday again?
No, 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 no. No, I said that because Ginny, where are you, Ginny? Ginny Nichols, who makes these amazing birthday cakes every first Sunday, brought the cakes today. So even though we sang to our May birthdays, you can raise your hand again if you want, May birthdays. We sang to you last week. We're going to celebrate you. Yes, Krista. We're going to celebrate you with cake today, so please do join us in there. Let's see, what else? Jean Hanna is hosting brown bag suppers, the second and fourth Tuesdays each month here, where we watch a video of an interview with a well-known psychic, healer, spiritual teacher. And this week I'm especially excited about, I'm going to be here because Aaron Apke, who is one of my Course in Miracles teachers and an amazing young spiritual guru, will be the person interviewed. So I'm going to invite you all to come. You just bring your supper and have it together in community and watch that. And come on up, Jane, because you have another announcement to make.
Thank you. As you know, Unity and CSL are coming together, and there is a process in doing that. And so we are doing some legal steps to move in that direction. And we're not ready to do the final decision, like, yes, okay, we're all together, but we have to change some bylaws in our Unity bylaws to allow us to take this property and our funds with us when we go into CSL. So if we become Unity CSL. So that's the first step. We have to do this legal step. You're going to get, if you have been, if you are currently a member of Unity, or you're a CSL Unity member, some of you are both, you're going to get a notice in the mail about a special meeting. That special meeting will be after service on May 21st. And there will be a ballot, and we take ballots to approve this bylaw that will allow us to keep our assets here in Medford at our center. So it's a very important vote. We have to have 75% of the ballots cast to be in favor of it. That's what our current bylaws say. So please be looking for that. You're going to get either an email, or you're going to get a snail mail. You're going to get a notice. If you don't, we'll be here after service with ballots and with the proposal so that you can look at it. If you can't be here for the 21st, yes, you can submit a ballot. You just need to get one from us here. So if you have questions about that, please see a Unity board member about it. You can ask any of us about this process. So we want to hear your questions. We want to know your concerns. So please do that. The other thing I want to say, to mark your calendars ahead, because we're going to have a very special kirtan concert here, June 10th. That's a Saturday evening from 7 to 9 with our famous Anton. And I don't know if, Anton, you want to say anything about it.
I want to say that we're not 100% certain of the date.
We're not certain on the date yet?
Because a whole bunch of CSL ministers are going to be away. But we'll do it sometime in June.
It may be later in June then.
Laura,
that would be great.
And Madurai, an amazing kirtan leader who played a kirtan recently in Rishikesh, opening up for, who is that kirtan?
It'll be awesome. We know that. And that is the weekend of the
really
CSL
good, yeah.
graduation. So we have two people graduating from ministerial school, and all
Right.
of the ministers will be down there. So,
we will. That sounds good for me. I would love it if we could have you all here for
we'd
that
like to
too.
be here.
And then the other thing is Spirit Sings, which is featuring our Unity and CSL choir, will be singing the first Friday. Is that right, Janice? Yes. The first Friday of June. So lots of really good stuff coming up. So anyway, thank you. Again, ask me any questions you have about this bylaw change. We really need your input. We need you to vote, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Jean Hannah. Let's give her a little love. Yeah. Just a couple more quickies before we go eat. Reverend Bonnie Anderson will be teaching an online class called Outrageous Opening, Letting the Divine Take the Lead. This is based on Tosha Silva's book, which is an awesome book. I highly recommend it. It's going to be the 4 Tuesdays in June from 4 to 6 p.m. on Zoom. Tuition is $80, and there's more information in the newsletter, but I highly recommend this if you can do it. We do need some more volunteers. We have, I want to recognize Corey and Shannon, who are our video people today, and Vivian, who pinch hitted. Bill and Connie are on vacation, and Jason had to leave early, and we need a few more people to pinch hit on our video team. So if you're interested, see one of those folks, or me, please. We also could use some more ushers. There's a sign-up sheet in there if you'd like to usher one Sunday a month. So if any of those sacred service duties call to you, please let us know. Let's see, I think that's pretty much it. You can sign up for our newsletter in the other room. There's stuff in the newsletter about signing up for flowers. If you would bring flowers. Next Sunday is, I know there's hands going up. Next Sunday, I believe, is Jackie's jewelry. Kathy, what else?
Blue Lightning this Friday.
Okay, Blue Lightning, awesome band. So there's a meetup, and go see our meetup. We have awesome things that we do together, and all of that you can find in our newsletter. Please sign up for the newsletter. I think that's it. There's a prayer box in the back of the auditorium here. Our CSL ministers and practitioners will pray all week. There's also a unity prayer box in the other room, which is, do both, what the heck, right? Spread the wealth. And I'm going to invite our practitioners and ministers in the room to come forward now. Remember that they are available after service for what we call a 5-minute miracle, meaning we don't want you to leave with a heavy heart. If there's something that you would like prayer for, please come and see one of these dear souls, and they will pray to know your good and your truth for you or for whoever you're concerned about. They are also available for longer sessions, powerful sessions, for a fee. So I think that's it. I'm going to turn it back over to our musicians and see you in the social hall afterwards.
All right, let's stand for our closing song.